Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Reference Point. I'm your host, Dave Kocharhook, and I'm back with these four fantastic guys from Team Percussion USA. Guys, thank you so much for sticking around and coming and doing another show with me. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So we had a lot of fun with the last time when I actually got to wear the drum, which was a really interesting experience. No, seriously, just because of the whole difference in the weight and things like that. I want to talk more in this segment of the show about the kind of schools that you service. We talked a little bit about some schools earlier. I want to know more about where the music comes from, and do you write your own? Do you buy it? Choreographing and all that sort of stuff. Because I think that the folks who are watching might want to have a better understanding about what it is that as an organization you're bringing to the table for the young men and women who might come to you. And I want to know more about where you can go find these young people and that sort of thing. So let's start out with where do your members come from? Chris?
Mostly they come from schools that don't really have a lot of music programs. Typically most schools have a marching band because of the football season.
Right.
But after that season we're less funded, and typically schools kind of shut down music in the off season, especially with California cuts and things of that nature. So we've been basically funneling those kids who don't have anything to do all winter long into our program, getting them drumming throughout the season where they can train for the next marching band season.
And you mentioned in the last segment that there's, I think you said 22 members of the ensemble at this point. How large can it get before it's unwieldy and you have to do something else?
Yeah, well, there's a couple classes. The competitive circuit we are in, they have small groups. We're in the independent A, which is the smallest group. Open class, it gets up to 30, 35 people, and world class 40 to...
I remember Amachi last year.
Yeah, they can go as high as they want, as long as they can fill up the floor and not get too busy to where you can't move around, basically.
Right.
But it gets pretty intense. They separate through categories. You don't compete against people who are way above your grade.
I would think, Jim, that there are more than 22 kids, though, in the community who fit the profile that Chris just talked about and who might find this interesting. So do you look to have more than one competitive team, or how would that work?
We hope that's a problem that we have. And yeah, if we get enough kids, we'll start a second team. And so the idea is to, again, figure out what works, and this is primarily about developing kids through percussion.
Right.
So figure out the program, and then if we get more kids, then we'll find a way to start up a second team and another, even if it's in San Jose or in another town.
So where do these young men and women come from? How do they find out about what you guys do?
A lot of it, for the starting year particularly, it was word of mouth referral. Chris pounded the pavement quite a bit and talked to a lot of different directors. I know I was in contact with a few directors that I knew from a few different music programs and so forth, and it was just word of mouth referral. Also, Jim, he was very involved with his sons. Their school program, they were very involved for quite some time, and so they had made a lot of contacts through that, and so we got a few people from a bunch of different sources, and then it worked out where the next season, I think that our best recruitment tool was our previous season, and so people saw that, okay, this might have some longevity, and it's gaining momentum to the point that we'll show up at a rehearsal and there's two new bodies that are standing there, and we're saying, okay, who are you?
Where'd you come from?
You guys?
How'd you hear about us?
Yeah.
And so are the kids telling other kids?
Yes, actually, that's one of our big things, is that we have active recruitment through the membership themselves. I mean, there's no better referral than word of mouth.
Right.
There's no better referral, and luckily, I think that, not to toot horns, but we must have done something right in that capacity where they feel comfortable referring their friends and saying, this is somewhere you should really check out. This could be a home for you.
That's very cool.
And we had a very good return rate. So out of all the kids we from last season, over 90% came back this year.
Wow,
So
that's great.
We must be doing something right.
Yeah.
Brandon, how do the parents respond? I mean, do you have the opportunity to interact with the parents of the kids to any degree?
I know for sure Chris and Jim has talked to those parents a lot. The thing that I really like is, let's say this last weekend for Fresno, I got a chance to drive one of the cars down. We could just carpool, just caravan. Sure. And getting a chance to meet with some of the parents that come all the time, they become, I don't want to cliche it by saying family, but yeah, definitely it's like my cousin came or my aunt came, but that's a student's mother or a student's father, and they see what we do. They like how their child is able to excel, and when they see that confidence, they see that their student is doing better in other facets of their life, typically academics. They just get more organized in life, and so the parents they love it. They come out, they watch, they film. One of the dads at Fresno was just holding his iPhone out there, just filming the whole rehearsal. You know, they'll drive 3 hours to watch their son or daughter perform all the time.
That's very cool. I mean, that involvement by the parent in what the young man or woman is doing, I think, is absolutely huge. Because we talked at the last segment about the what it does for the individual when they succeed at something, or they hear that applause, or they find out that they can actually do something, how the self-esteem goes up.
Yeah.
But having your parents approve of that and support that kind of thing, that's even big. That's a huge step. I mean, that from the kind of what you described as the type of environments that some of the kids are coming from, where they don't have that. They're not like a Los Altos high school that has all of those things in place. This is big for those kids and for their families, I would think.
Well, and that, it's one of those things. I think that a lot of the parents and family members, they don't even really understand what their kid is going to do. They just said, hey, I want to go drum on Sunday, and then eventually it just snowballs from there, where the parent says, what is my kid doing every Sunday from 9 to 5? And then they start showing up more. They start seeing things. We tend to ask favors occasionally, like, can you help us with this maybe this day? Right? And it's become very family style, and honestly it's very attractive. It's if you get a group of people jumping up and down in a circle, eventually that group of people is going to expand with time. It's just, there's something very attractive to that type of a thing. Getting the parents involved is, I think, equally as important as getting any one of the members involved. I mean,
definitely.
They're their kid's number one fan.
Right.
They're their biggest supporter. We're number two fans probably, but I mean, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. It's what is the member experience, and I've taught at a number of organizations in Canada, the United States, throughout the Bay particularly, and I have never seen a group spend this much time talking about, well, what should we do thinking of the kids first?
Oh, wow.
I've never seen that before.
Wow. That goes back to your original concept, I guess, Jim. You're talking about what can this organization do to be a safe haven for and a learning experience for that demographic that has, that doesn't have those after school type of activities. So let's go back and talk about that a little bit more in terms of the John Wooden concept, whatever those words are that are trying to come out of my mouth, how that plays in and how you actually implement some of that for the kids.
Well, originally, when we first started talking about this, the idea was that Coach Wooden would define the culture, and then we would incorporate that into a program for the kids, and it'd be similar to having some achievement awards. So you study this portion of the Wooden philosophy, and you would get rewards for that. And what we found was that the kids we were getting were actually older than we had anticipated.
Really?
So we thought we were going to get 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and we're getting 14, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds.
Oh, really?
So we have to change.
22-year-old, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe 22. So we have to change our approach a little bit and use some gamification techniques to incorporate that in the program. But that's, we're working on that. So it's like any startup, any venture capitalist will tell you that when you start up a company, no matter how well you plan it, things are going to change.
Yeah.
And so you have to adapt to whatever those changes might be. But the key is having a good team. So we've assembled a good team, and no matter how things change, we'll adapt to whatever the market tells
And it
us.
sounds like the team, of which a goodly part of it is represented here, the team has embraced the concepts and the coach's philosophy. And it's clear to me that you can utilize those skills, those concepts in teaching the choreography or or helping them with you know, with the musicality of it, or talking to them about what they need to do in order to, you know, get to you know, what the scheduling is and what they have to do in order to be here and that sort of stuff. So that's really, it all makes sense as how you guys, you know, from the look in your eyes, I can see that you've embraced the concept, so that's not a problem. So what do the young men and women have to contribute besides time to this endeavor?
Right now they pay a $7.50 member fee, which includes the flight to and from Dayton, registration of all shows.
What? Dayton?
Yeah, that's our World Finals. They go to World Finals and back. We provide the flights. Everything is subsidized through private sponsors and grants. We've started to get off the ground with that, but we're definitely looking for more help in that area. Mostly.
So let's. Do you automatically go to Dayton because you have a group, or?
Well, it's something that we kind of
No,
made.
he goes, no.
Yeah. This is our mission statement to make the group attractive, is that we're going to compete on a world level. And it's not just, you know, a local mess around unit. We're actually taking it very seriously. We're going to the World Finals. You know, we're going to provide food. We're going to provide the best instruction, instruments, everything possible, so that there's no excuse other than just being amazing and taking care of business.
So this to be able to compete at the Dayton event, is that the World Championship?
It's the World Championship.
Okay. To be able to compete there, what do you have to have done? How many levels are there? I'm familiar with, in the barbershop world, you know, we've got our divisions, our districts, international, blah, 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 blah. And then you get up there and finally you can, you know, win the gold medal. But what is the, you know, the hierarchy in team percussion?
For the Fresno is our regionals. They have regionals all throughout the country. Ours was this past weekend in Fresno. And depending on your placement is how well you're set up for the final show. If you do well and you have a higher score, you get a later slot, which is more opportunity for more performance, and bigger crowd, and this helps to fuel the endorphins of the performers so they can max it out.
Right.
So it's sort of like we train locally, we do local circuits, we build ourselves up, and we go out to the regionals to participate and set ourselves up for a better placement in our finals.
Got it. So it's, if you do well in the regionals, you get to go to Dayton.
Yeah.
Got it. Very cool. And you went there last year?
Yes, we went last
we
year
did.
as well.
Wow. First year.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's awesome.
a lot.
Well,
That is
that's
awesome.
Definitely a lot.
Honestly, most of the groups don't go, just period, ever. There'll be groups, organizations, schools, so
Because
forth.
they don't want to go, or they don't qualify to go.
It's a mixture of several elements. I mean, especially with what we were saying before, with a lot of the music programs receiving cuts and so forth. There's a serious lack of funding for things like Dayton that are considered to be more of a luxury than a necessity. So a lot of the groups, what they'll do is they'll cut things short prior to the end of the year. The world level groups, or the higher categories, it's almost all of them go to the World Championships. And then in the other categories, we're seeing more and more groups that are going on an annual basis. It's getting a lot more competitive than it used to. Right? It's just this activity is building a lot of steam right now.
That's cool.
It's very cool. Very cool.
You guys are not tied to a school, so you're not a, quote, school program,
No.
unquote. So, Jim, where do you get your support? I mean, $750 per person to pay to go to Dayton. And, I mean, that's barely going to cover airfare and...
I don't think it covers it.
Airfare,
To be honest.
Okay, so you bring your tent so that you have a place to stay and stuff like that. So this is not, you know, you one of the things you said at the beginning of the last show, we're going to provide the best instructors and the best instruments. How do you finance something like that? You guys are a nonprofit organization, right?
We're a nonprofit organization. So far, 95% of that funding has come from myself. So it's a commitment to the program.
Wow.
So we don't want to, I didn't feel like we could go out and ask corporations for donations till we could prove that we had a program that teenagers would embrace and accept. So again, it's like the VC, venture capital community.
Yeah.
They don't want to fund your company until you have a working demo or a product. So we spent the last 2 years building our product and demonstrating that the kids love this.
Well, not only does it seem that they love it from what you've said, all the 90% return rate and the growing number of them, but from what we saw in that brief video clip last time, and the fact that they managed to get the Nationals the first time, you know, and they're going again because they scored their highest scores ever. This time, didn't you say they scored some of their highest competitive scores?
Yeah, right now
The highest score in the country was an 89, and we're at 85.
So, and
Yeah.
is that the highest score that your men and women have had?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yes, that is our
Yeah.
highest
So
all the
you
way
scored.
through.
You did your personal best. They did their personal best.
That's
Yeah.
definitely
Which is very awesome.
definitely,
That
yeah.
kind of speaks right to that point. That's really cool.
Well,
Hopefully you'll be able to move into that direction and get
The
some
thing that I
support there.
found really interesting, though, is yesterday we had breakfast with all the kids, and we said, okay, here's your first place trophy. And the question is, are you satisfied with your performance? So it's not so much what did you achieve in terms of a trophy, but did you give your best? And all the kids said, oh, I can do better.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
I mean that from an individual, a personal statement that I could have done this a little better. I mean that's a huge self-awareness thing.
Yeah, they weren't happy. I mean, they got first place, but each one of them thought they could have done better. They could have done their choreography a little better, played their instrument a little better, and they're hungry for more.
That's awesome.
So it
very,
was
very
really
cool.
encouraging to see.
So let's talk about the music a little bit. Where does the music come from? You guys are there? Do you write your own music? Do you? I mean, is there the piece that we saw, that 1 minute segment of? Is that an original score, or is that something that you found someplace, or how does this all work?
Yeah, that's an original composition by one of our good friends, Mike Jackson and Kevin Shaw. They're just local drum writers. We kind of put our stuff together ourselves because if we use, copyrighted music, we have to pay extra for copyrighted music.
Of course,
It gets a little more
ASCAP loves their
expensive, so-
royalties. Yeah.
We do the best I can to take the feeling of things we like that we hear and kind of emulate that through our own interp and put it on the floor. We also write our own drill. We have our own drill staff and choreographers. They take care of all the movement and body in-house per rehearsal.
So, is there a variety of styles of music? Rock, swing, jazz. Are you able to do those kinds of different sort of things within this discipline?
Yeah, it's usually like per year. Each show will have its own theme throughout
Ah.
the course of the entire season. This year's theme is Breaking the Machine, so it's very steampunk, electronic, a lot of gears and winding up motions to solidify the music with the visual element.
Is that theme determined by the national organization or the world organization, or is
just-
that determined by you?
Yeah, each group gets to pick our own flavor. It tends to kind
Ah.
of signify the group. Like some people will do a jazz type thing from year to year. We tend to do more of a classical based from year to year. And there's groups from Japan. They always do Japan music, and they kind of have their little niche in the society.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So, where do you get your inspiration then? Now, you're the choreographer, one of the choreographers, so you're helping they bring you, here's the score,
Right.
you listen to what's going on, and then you...
That's interesting that you bring that question up. I was talking to the gentleman who does a drill for us, or he'll do the staging. He'll do the placement, and then I'll comb through the show after that and say, okay, you're going to go there like this. And both of us feed off each other as we're going through the show, and the rest of the staff definitely has their input while we design everything. But that's an interesting question that you say that. I was talking to him about that, and he had said that he runs with his headphones on to a particular song that he just loses himself. And then he comes up with ideas that could potentially work. We bring them to rehearsal and try them out. I sit there in front of my mirror, and I have a closet mirror that's actually, I use it a lot for just listening and trying to figure out what works. It's finding what's easy to move and what's attractive to the eye. And a lot of it comes from experience. And I mean, with all this experience right here, it's a lot of pressure on a younger guy like me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. It's a self, wow, it's definitely a self-awareness activity, and creating it and finding the inspiration definitely comes from the fire that's being fueled of the urgency of making it good.
Cool.
So make something happen, and if it doesn't work, figure it out. Make something else happen.
Do you get any input on either the musical component or the choreographic component from your performers? Do the kids come up with any ideas that seem to...
Every once in a while, they'll be messing around and do something really cool, and we'll
Yeah.
say, do that again, and let's tinker with that a
And
little
you
bit.
encourage that behavior.
Yeah, and they really
exactly
enjoy that
right.
environment where they know they can be creative and do
That's
something,
cool.
and it might end up in the show.
Yeah.
That's
also
very cool. I
get-
mean, that's got to add to that whole sense of interest and desire to participate in this endeavor.
Yeah, well, it's ownership on their part though
Yeah.
too. I mean, this is theirs more than it is anybody else's. For us, we're just spectators. I used to say this to my students at other organizations. We're just really big fans of yours. I mean, nobody likes you as much as we do, right? Like, we watch you all the time.
Yeah.
We want to see you do this well, so perform for us too, right? And it really, I mean, it's theirs. At the end of the day, they're the ones who, if it wins and succeeds, it's theirs. If it doesn't do as well, it's theirs. Whatever it is, it's
Right.
theirs, right? So you have to encourage ownership in something like this.
That's very cool. I know that during the course of our shows here, the two we've been doing, that we've been putting up your website and your email addresses and stuff like that. So, because I want the viewing audience to know that how to reach you guys, because this is like if somebody sees something that's exciting to them, they should go for it. Which actually stimulates a question here. Where do your let's talk about the geography of where your kids come from. Okay, are they all from in the San Jose area? You guys are kind of here in the South Bay, right?
Well, yeah, most are in the South Bay, but again, just to give you an indication of the level of commitment of some of these kids, we have one member that drives to practice 2.5 hours each way.
Each
So
way.
that's Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 2.5 hours each way, just to be a member of our group.
Whoa, 2.5 hours. That's like you're coming from Reading or something.
Petaluma.
Petaluma.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, coming through the San Francisco traffic. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's really tremendous.
That's huge.
But other than that one example, most of the kids come from the San Jose area,
Okay. That's
Santa
very
Clara,
cool.
Sunnyvale.
All right. So that's good. So they're getting your information. You guys have a website,
Yep.
and some of your faces are on the website. I know I've seen several of your faces on the website. So that's
Not the
very
most
cool.
flattering pictures all the time. Yeah.
It's sort of like going to the DMV,
Yeah,
you know.
It's on there.
You're making this face, and yeah.
But that's cool. And so, what can someone learn about the group from the website?
Well, on the website, it's fairly basic, rudimentary, but we just say, here's indoor percussion as an activity, here's the wooden philosophy, this is what we're about, and then here's our vision for how we hope that Team Percussion USA will be spread out through the country. And then we also have a Facebook page, which is more of the more about the performances and day-to-day pictures and things.
Let's go about the performances, because you mentioned, Chris, that there are performances other than the competitive performance. There's other things that you do in the community. Do you guys post your performance schedule on your website? If somebody was interested in trying to see, I want to see what this really is like, how would they find out about when the next performance is?
We do have a calendar on the website. It has all of our performance dates, rehearsal dates. It's all open to the public. If you go to a show, anywhere from $5 to $10 to get in the door.
Cool.
Not too much. Mostly a contribution to that high school's music program.
Right.
All concessions go to the local school hosting the shows. But all the information is on our site, and if you RSVP or enter any information, we can put you on a mailing list where you can receive all the information and updates.
Very cool. Very cool. So when's the next gig?
Yeah.
This weekend, this Saturday,
Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Los
wow.
Gatos show.
Oh, that crept up. Wow. I didn't
Boom,
even think
it's
about
right
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like so there's. It sounds like there's a lot of regular opportunity to perform. It's not just you're going to rehearse for 4 months and then you have one show
Oh, right.
and 2
No,
shows
no.
a year or something like that. You
Yeah.
guys are performing a lot.
Yeah, it's
And
like
that's
a
part of the
show.
training, is to make sure they can practice the performance aspect, the endorphins, the energy, make sure it all translates when we get to the final show through much repetition.
Right.
And I like to say that indoor percussion is the best kept secret out there, because most parents don't know about this. Most of the general public don't know about it as an activity, but once they see it live, I mean, it's one thing to see it on a video,
Yeah.
but it's quite another to be there in the room inside that gym and hear out loud, and what a sensation that is. Once they see that, they become big fans of indoor percussion.
Very cool. Very cool. We got a few minutes left in the show, maybe 3 or so, 3.5, and I wanted to just have you guys, maybe tell us a little bit about what being part of this organization means to you as individuals, because clearly you have a passion for it. So not just for indoor percussion, but for this group. So tell me a little bit about that. I'm going to start with you, Brandon.
Cool. This program is unique. it's independent. So as an opposed to a scholastic group, being in an independent group is a lot of freedom for developing your own connection, and not so much what that school is doing. It's you might come from this school, and you come from this school, and you come from this school, but together here, we don't have a school. We are the school.
Right.
You know, whoever shows up, that's the school. That's church.
Very cool.
And my experience here has turned into, hey, do you want to sub for a day and hang out? to, can you write the viz book this year? Can you write the visual? And I couldn't be more happy about how the kids have been developing and how this staff has been developing together. And
Very cool.
yeah, team percussion is definitely where it's at.
Going to move over to you now, Matt.
Yeah, honestly, I had retired from this activity. I was pretty much done. And so I don't know how he did this, but he tricked me.
And you're glad he did.
Yeah, I am. It's tacking onto what B was saying a lot of the time with the high school programs. Some of the kids are forced to be there. Some of the kids aren't forced to be there. It just, you get a very varied approach to why of what you're doing, right? And when with an independent program, and particularly just with these members, because I mean we practice less than most of these groups do, and we're highly competitive at this point. And I think a big part of it is the personal accountability that our members have taken on their own. And
that's a tribute to both you guys and to the members. So we have just a few. I'm gonna come. You got 15 seconds.
Awesome. We're basically trying to create a family. Like when I put this crew together, it was kind of like assembling the Avengers. I had to grab the best
There you
from
go.
all over the place and get into this
So
house.
is this
Had to do
Captain
a
America
comic
over here? Right?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are nine-or-noid.
From
They're
Canada, but
professional
yeah.
drummers. YouTube's a big thing for the kids. They hear these names. They want to be taught by these people.
Very cool.
And so we made a family environment where they can explore new things and learn all kinds of crazy stuff from these guys.
That's awesome. So Jim, what inspires you here? Why do you
Well,
do
it's
this?
just an honor and a privilege to work with these guys. So it's a chance to say, you know, here's the best instructors, here's the best instruments. You guys know how to do this, so I'll try and step out of the way as much as I possibly can. Chris run the show.
Let them.
So
Fantastic.
it has been a real privilege.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and joining me here on Reference Point. And I hope the studio, the viewing audience has really got a sense and a feel for what you're doing. So you've seen their website, phone numbers, you've seen the video. You can go up there and watch some more or whatever, but have a great time with this. This is a fantastic concept, and support these people. And by the way, if you have any questions about this show or any other possibilities for Reference Point, send me an email at info@referencepointtv.com. We'll make sure to get your questions answered, or if you have an idea for a show, we'll do that too. So, guys, thanks again for being here, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Reference Point.